Hello, my name's Jeremy, and we're just gonna, for my final project, we're just gonna kind of have just an open discussion about kind of what I learned in the class and about all of our religious preferences. So for me personally, I grew up in not a religious household, but gained a lot of friends over time with all different religious preferences. So I guess to like put a pin in it, I would be agnostic or leaning towards kind of atheist too. I'm not quite sure. For me, I just don't really know, so I can't put a label on it. And then,
All right, I'm Kevin, and I was raised Catholic. I attended catechism up until confirmation and did not get confirmed. After that, I sort of didn't know what to believe. Sort of had to see the world for myself. Currently place myself as agnostic. Very open to the idea, but no definitive answer one way or another.
I'm Andrew. I would say I'm a little more devout than these two, as well as most of my close friend group. I was also raised Catholic. I did the whole catechism and I was confirmed, although I kind of fell out of the faith when I came to college. I just didn't really feel like going to Mass. And then I went back and I think it was freshman year, sophomore year for Easter. And then ever since then, I just really grew into my faith and the whole St. John's Catholic community here in East Lansing. And then I've steadily gotten more into my faith as time went on. I started joining a Bible study group, and I've also done a retreat or two through St. John's, and I've met a lot of really cool people through the community there, and it's a pretty big part of my life, even though I can't go to church right now.
Alright, so I'm just gonna kick it off with just starting to talk about an existential theme, and the one I chose is the knowability or unknowability of the divine. So for me, I'm full into the unknowability, which it means it means I don't discredit anything, but I just, without any proof per se, I guess I can't say definitively anything about it. So I guess we can just open it up and just talking about the knowability or the unknowability of religion.
So for me, I definitely understand the whole viewpoint of no one knows what happens when we die, because obviously no one's going to die and then come back.
Yeah.
Except Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we're taught, at least.
Yeah.
But I do sometimes feel like God has spoken to me directly and indirectly. I definitely do believe in a higher power.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely believe somebody made the whole natural world and helped create everything that we see, both directly and indirectly. And although I can't say I haven't experienced a miracle, but it does really comfort me to pray over some of the things that bother me. I try to pray every day. Sometimes it gets away from me, but I usually try to say a prayer over breakfast, things like that. And sometimes I do notice that if I continually come to God with my problems and I pray for things, that sometimes things do get better. Yeah. It might not be the whole way that I expect things to, but I have noticed improvements because of praying, and that helps contribute to, there's somebody up there listening to me, and that just really confirms my belief that there is somebody up there.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Honestly, yeah, for me, even in times of I don't do it often, but every once in a while, I'll say something to God, just because who knows, and just in times of real stress, even I will sometimes just give it a shot. I mean, I don't know.
It's kind of therapeutic.
Mm-hmm. No,
somebody's listening to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good point, actually.
See, but when I think about knowability or unknowability of the divine, I feel like that's not, I guess, the point of the divine. Mm-hmm. When you think of, especially the Christian God, it's on faith. You have to believe.
Yeah.
And so I know that when if when God created man, it was in his own image. And with that, he wanted us to have free will.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that if we had definitive proof of the divine and where we go when we die, that's not necessarily free will.
Yeah.
Because we'd be living under this constant fear of, oh, well, we have to behave exactly this way and do exactly this, and then we'll go to heaven. I mean, we could decide not to, but it's a much more oppressive feeling than us actually being able to learn and choose for ourselves how to live.
Yeah, I like that. It kind of segues into talk a little bit about the book of Genesis and with the free will idea. So I do believe that humans were created to have that free will, and that was shown in Genesis, where I think they had what some would consider the perfect life. Everything was A-okay, but still the idea of biting the apple and everything, they'll learn everything, and they're kind of out on their own from then on out. It kind of just talks to me about just how I think we're meant to be with our own free will, and we just live our own lives with, they're really we got to think about where God, I guess, he let us choose essentially how we wanted to live our life. I know you said you had an interesting take on the book of Genesis.
I was talking more about just the whole, the Bible is meant to be taken literally.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the 7 days of creating the world were actually all the evolution that came up to a point he created say he created animals, but in the way he created animals by starting with life and then working his way up.
Yeah, I like that idea.
They're metaphorical days.
Yeah, maybe his clock's a little longer than ours, but
yeah, yeah, definitely.
But then you have the 7th day is Sabbath, but that's a little off topic. But one of the things that I learned, or one of the things that was reinforced, especially at the retreat, is it's not necessarily about God gave us free will in order to do whatever, and that means sometimes people will not believe. It's more of it was a really big emphasis on that retreat that it was more of a God will always accept that. I know the Catholic faith as well as much as the Christian faith is God expects these people to make mistakes and slip up because we are human and we are tempted by the devil. But no matter how bad we act, there's always redemption. Jesus died for all of our sins.
Yeah.
Well, and you said it was almost off topic, but I actually really like that idea that on the 7th day God rested, because that could just mean that God made his creation and then just let it thrive. That doesn't mean that you said all right, I gotta go take a nap. It's now I get to actually watch what my creations have done. Mm-hmm. And if they're metaphorical days and you compare how long it took for the universe to become what it become. I had those backwards. But then how long it took for life to develop from nothing, from stardust into where we are today. Mm-hmm. And on the 7th day God rested. We've been around for a relatively short amount of time compared to the length of the universe. This could very well still be the 7th day.
Yeah.
Yeah, just you don't know. Because I definitely believe that the Bible should not be taken literal. It's just, I know there's a lot of people who still believe the earth is 6,000 years old. But which I do like how a lot of modern day Christians though have taken advancements in science and stuff like that and grown with it and just not taking the Bible exactly literal, but more so taking the lessons from it and expanded on from there.
Well, and going back to Genesis, a lot of people we're now as a society, or not even now, but we have accepted this theory of evolution, and that we've worked our way up from nothing. And I know there are still people that believe otherwise. Mm-hmm. But even going back, we can only track the history of the universe to, at its earliest, the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
And so, we're physically unable to see anything that happened before the Big Bang. We have no evidence. We've got no clue what happened before that. Mm-hmm. And so to empirically say that there was nothing, no, creator, no anything that spawned the Big Bang.
There's no backing to that claim.
Right. I think it's very plausible that there's someone, something out there that actually created the spark of the universe.
Yeah.
And if that's the only physical action that they've taken, and from there on it's all guiding and stuff like that to eventually be in his own image, I think that's, a very potential idea, and that's a lot of the reason I see myself as agnostic rather than atheist.
Yeah, I mean, for me too, even I believe in the Big Bang Theory, but again, we will never know, and science will never be able to figure out what happened before that. So it's again like the unknowability for me, where it keeps me like open, because I just will never know. We can go back to, you were talking about visionary experiences. How do you think they have like a big value in today's society?
Define visionary experience.
I mean, just finding God, like talking to God. I know, like even in some cases, they say like I've seen God, I've personally spoken to God. Do you think there's a value in today's society with that?
I feel like today's society as a whole is, especially in the younger people, it's just kind of drifting away from religion, and in a way that kind of makes me sad. Although I do understand that it's really weird for me to say this, but I can understand like why some people just don't need religion in their life. It's definitely something that I've fallen back on, especially in the tough times of my life. It's something I grew up with. It's a very intrinsic part of me. But just with how society functions these days, you're always going to have people who are like, no, I don't like that. I don't want to deal with these rules. I'm going to do what I want. And to an extent, that's fine. Obviously, some people take it way too far and can end up like ruining things. But I definitely feel like religion and the whole framework behind not only Christianity, but like Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, all of the major religions. There's definitely lessons to be learned that can be applied to society in a lot of different ways. I know the Bible, one of the main tenets of the Bible is to help the poor. Like Jesus went around healing the sick and helping the poor. And I feel like that's a really big thing for me, although that's something I need to be better on.
Yeah.
But when it comes to visionary experiences, I definitely see how they can help people who aren't really as into the faith, like grow into it.
I mean, for me, I personally definitely believe they still have a big value in today's society, just because a lot of the times when you see someone come to God or talk to God, they are in like a pretty dark place a decent amount of times, and it just sparks a big change in their life, and they actually like improve their lives substantially.
Whether or not there's actually someone there listening, it's the belief, the faith that someone there is there, that someone cares about you, and that there's this thing that can make your life better if you reach out to it, can a lot of times just really help people.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like that's a lot of where modern religion is going, where there's less like actual belief in the existence of a person. But for me personally, like someone who like grew up learning the religion and sort of drifted away from it, the important lesson for me was never always like there's somebody there and you need to be devout to him, you need to serve him, you need to do this for him. It's he's got these lessons. The Bible to me is a book of just good lessons, like how to be a good person, just common sense type things where, be nice to people, be a good human being. Yeah,
like me growing up, I think I gained pretty much all my morals just from being taught right by my parents, but I can definitely respect all the lessons that are learned through reading the Bible, through any religion, that being said.
Well, especially because I'm sure, even if your grandparents weren't religious or your great-grandparents weren't, somewhere down the line your family was religious, and it's not necessarily the belief that was passed on, it's the morals that were learned and passed down from generation to generation.
Actually,
And I feel like that's more so the long-standing effect of religion on society.
Yeah, anything to add with that?
No, I pretty much just say the same thing over again.
Yeah, that's good.
I've always had the idea of Jesus in my mind. He's just this total bro. Like
Yeah.
he's just the coolest man ever.
He could kickflip.
Yeah, he could definitely kickflip.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that always helps me, kind of bring him back down to earth
Yeah.
a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not.
Yeah,
exactly-
well, because that's what he is. He's supposed to bridge the gap between what we can't see and what
Yeah.
we actually can
He's
tangibly understand.
the Son of God.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, yeah, for me, I'm happy with our discussion today. Thank you guys for joining me.
Of course.
Last project ever of college, so it's this awesome experience to get to finish it up with something like this instead of just writing a paper.
Mhm.
So thank you guys.
Yeah.
No problem.
All right, perfect.
Let's get some
Bye. I'll keep that in.